With the Not Too Young to Run bill passed, with 91 registered political parties, women, young people coming out to seek public office in the 2019 elections, you will agree with me that we do have a new and emerging political class. My name is Isabella Akinseye, and this is Politico Politica.
Politico Politica with Isabella Akinseye.
Welcome back to Politico Politica with me, your host, Isabella Akinseye. Let's meet our guest. He has over 35 years experience in private and public service covering teaching, auditing, corporate and general law practice and development consultancy. He has acquired expertise in public policy and implementation, national development, international development issues, global affairs, African affairs, Nigerian history, law, culture, and political economy. As a development expert, he has a wide portfolio of participation and leadership in the design, implementation, coordination, delivery, and evaluation of internationally financed development programs and projects in Nigeria at national and subnational levels. He is the presidential flag bearer of KOWA Party. He is Dr. Sina Fagbenro-Byron. Welcome to Politico Politica, Dr. Fagbenro-Byron.
Thank you, Isabella. Thank you for having me.
So let's go straight to our topic of the day. We're looking at the new political class. What do you make of this new and emerging political class?
I think it's a great development in Nigeria in the sense that Nigeria is trying to transit. Not only are we trying to change government, but we are trying to change governance. We're trying to change the way people approach politics and approach governance. We want to ensure that new ways, good ways, modernity, and more inclusion, appears in the political space. The new political voices demonstrate, a movement into the frontiers where people are more included in politics. Politics is no longer a cloak and dagger business. You want everyone in Nigeria, every citizen, to be able to know and say that, look, if I wanted to be a politician or if I wanted to participate in the political process of my country, there is space. So what I think the new political group are doing, they're breaking frontiers, they're breaking barriers and creating space for the new generation.
But let's look at the role this new political class is playing in strengthening our democracy in Nigeria.
Well, you see, strengthening democracy has a lot to do with the process. It also has a lot to do with the content. Democracy cannot be strengthened if the content of what is being discussed, if it is not issues-based. You want to make sure that people are concentrated more on the issues rather than on frivolities, sentiments, tribalism, ethnicism, religious issues and stuff. So what happens is that this new breed, if I may use that language, are forcing the situation to look at issues. You want to look at the issues of gender, you want to look at the issues of social inclusion. In Nigeria specifically, we have certain issues that touch the lives of everyone. Security, human development, the environment, power, infrastructure, the economy, employment. You want different dimensions. They say that in the abundance of water, the fool is thirsty. In the abundance of comments and in the abundance of participants, Nigeria can only get richer. They have enriched the political space and they have given hope to the future.
So definitely a plus for our democracy.
Absolutely.
So now, do you see a synergy between the old political class and the new political class, or do you feel they are worlds apart?
I don't think they're worlds apart. I think there's a continuum. Take, for example, a lot of people will categorize me as new breed, but I know my age. I'm going to be 60 next year, and I have that experience that comes with the old, but again, my mindset is with the new, So, but what I think is that life is always a continuum. There cannot be a fracturing alone. So there will be little degrees of, when you boil water, before you get the water to boil 100%, it crosses 50. So what we're saying is that it'll be gradual. In some cases, there will have to be some decisive change. There will have to be some fracture. There will have to be some disruption. But having said by and large, you will always have a mix. And I'll tell you, social inclusion, which is the fundamental bedrock of development, presumes that the wholesome is made of the young, the old, men and women. There are insights that new politicians will bring into the table. And there is some experience that the old politicians too will bring into the table. The most important thing is if we focus on the national interest. If we all focus on the national interest, what happens at the end of the day is that we bring in different perspectives. And at the end of the day, we believe and we hope and we pray that Nigerians can synthesize what is best for them and then move forward with the best options.
So what would you say to people who are thinking, yes, I want to be a part of this political class. I want to have my voice count. I want to join a political party or maybe even form a political party. Is there space? Is there room at the table, or are we full?
There is absolutely space. Take for instance, someone said that no matter how many birds are in the skies, they don't clash. If you come out with your unique offer and you present your case to the people, they might not accept it today. But by and large, if you're resilient, if you stay the course, if you're focused, if you continue your dedication to the people of Nigeria and to the purpose for which politics is established, that is, to create good governance and provide service delivery for the people, then by and large, people will listen to you, and eventually water always finds its level. So everybody we have to allow the space to grow, naturally. And then at some point in time, people will start distilling as we mature and we crystallize our issues, and we can find and we demonstrate that certain things can work or certain things do not work, and we continue on what works and we displace what doesn't work for us, then we will get there.
So my final question on our topic of the day will have to be with the law. Do you feel that this new political class can actually rely on the law to take its course? So take, for instance, we go to the polls and a new political party feels aggrieved that the old have come and they've done business as usual. Can they really rely on the law for justice to prevail?
You cannot preempt the law until you apply the law. You have to apply the law. You have to proceed with the judicial process. The law is there and it's really colorblind and it's supposed to be blind. The point is that we'll have to test the law. And there are two ways that your case can be presented to the public. There's the court of public opinion and there's the legal court. What we're saying, we know that there are challenges, particularly when it comes to, and I wouldn't want to blame the law. Take, for example, there are two major factors that determine the fairness of an election. The electoral management body, that is with INEC in Nigeria, and the police, which ensure that they enforce the rules of the game and they are impartial. As long as both of them are impartial, we have hope. If none of them are impartial, then we have the judiciary to be able to challenge it. It's unfortunate that the cost of justice is very high, it's prohibitive, and that might exclude some people. But nevertheless, you have collective actions that you can take, and you at least must present your case. The courts are there, and it will be best for all of us to follow the rule of law. And when we are disgruntled, when we are, dissatisfied, let us apply to the courts and trust that they will go on. And if the courts don't answer our questions, once moral justification is on your side, if providence doesn't side you, if history doesn't side you, and the court of public opinion does not side you, then God will most likely side you.
Thank you very much, for your contributions on this segment.
Absolutely, thank you.
Now we want to hear from you. Do you have views of your own? Please contribute online. Let us know what you make of the new political class. You can tweet at PP with Isabella on Twitter. Use the hashtag Politico Politica. On Facebook and Instagram, the handle to follow is Politico Politica. We'll be right back after this quick break. Stay close. Welcome back to Politico Politica with me, your host, Isabella Akinseye. Before the break, we had our topic of the day where we discussed the new political class. Now it's time for our Politics and More segment where our guest will be sharing his political journey with us. So Dr. Fagbenro-Byron, has it always been politics for you?
Yes, I've always been in politics, especially from my university days. I was PRO, Economic Student Society, President, Law Student Society, Member Students Representative Council, University of Ibadan. In the 1990s, late 1990s, I was in NRC. I was a PRO for NRC in Ikoyi. And then in 1999, when it came, I joined politics. I was in PDP then, 2000. I ran for local government chairmanship at Tiosa local government. Unfortunately, we had to withdraw because the PDP at that time had an issue with Tinubu creating extra 34 local governments. And about 2 weeks to the elections, we were asked to withdraw. But, you know, I'm a professional and I've always been into development. As a matter of fact, my kind of training and what I've done has had to do with public policy and development. So offline, that is off politics, off partisan politics, my day job has been political economy and national development. So, you know, I worked as a consultant for the World Bank and for the European Union. And then later I joined DFID, that's the Department for International Development. And what I did there was I was a governance advisor providing support to the federal government programs on public service reform, service delivery improvement, support to the National Assembly. And you will agree that all those things are political.
Definitely.
Definitely, I was a governance advisor. Then shortly after, I got promoted to head DFID in the Southwest. I was the head of DFID Southwest and at some point in time, head of DFID in Enugu. Now, that what required was to do a lot of programs beyond governance, human development, and a whole raft of programs supporting the states.
You started that political journey, so
Yes.
to say, in the PDP,
Yes,
and
please.
now you're in KOWA Party. Why
Yes.
the change?
Well, as a matter of fact, I'm a founding member of KOWA Party. What happened was when we had to withdraw from the local government elections in PDP, many of us felt that the decisions that were being made in PDP were driven by impunity, were driven by godfathers. There wasn't space for young people to actually express themselves. We disagreed with the fact that we had to withdraw from elections after campaigning for 1.5 years. And we watched the space and we saw how PDP grew. You know how many people left PDP. So I left PDP at that time, around 2006. When it was 2010, I joined others and we formed KOWA Party. So I am a founding member of KOWA Party. So that is the basis of my being in KOWA Party. And since then, but because I was in sort of diplomatic service, you know, I had to be particularly neutral. So I was quiet, but I was active in the party in a very quiet and silent way. So that's where the emergence into KOWA Party was. So we predicated KOWA Party on social inclusion, on welfareism, and modernism, which are the things that we felt were absent in PDP and other political parties. We also made sure that we increased the space for many young people to come in, people who are in civil society, people who are more involved with the issues. And that's why civil society is great to have as a partner, because civil society pursues issues. So we had a lot of civil society content, development worker content in the formation of KOWA Party.
So do you really feel, honestly,
Yes.
having been in a popular party, the
Yes.
PDP, and now founding the KOWA Party and being a member, do you really feel that Nigerians are willing and are ready to give new political parties a shot?
Nigerians have been forced to evaluate the two political parties. They say nothing is good except by comparison. People have seen the PDP operate. Nigeria rejected them at one point in time. And I am sure that more people, I mean, there are less people that are inclined to vote for the APC now than they were inclined to vote for them in 2015. It simply means that it's a gradual process. We have to push the frontiers. If we all kept quiet and laid down and told Nigerians that they had no other choices, we will not only be doing a disfavor to Nigeria, we'll be doing a disfavor to ourselves. So I firmly believe that Nigerians, particularly the younger generation, that were not steamed in this kind of politics, and they have an option. People want new things. People want fresh things. And there's nothing as certain in this life as change and evolution. So even in technology, whether it's in technology, whether it's in the way we dress, also in our political thinking and our political instruments that we deliver. So yes, I believe, I'm totally optimistic that by and by Nigerians will catch up with us. We will catch up with Nigeria, and the old will go with the old, and the new will come with the new.
But don't you feel some Nigerians will say, well, the devil I know is better than the angel I don't know, because when they've given a new party a chance and they got disappointed, so why don't we just go for what we know?
Absolutely, some Nigerians will say that. But there are other Nigerians who will look and say, well, it's not a question of the devil that they know. It's a question of what is being offered and the kind of people. I may belong to a new party, but I'm not a new human being. I have a record. And people who are running on the KOWA Party have records. So the issue is that Nigerians have a responsibility to look into the records and look into the backgrounds and look into the offer that the political parties and the individuals have, and we have to make these choices. We have to make these choices every 4 years. There is not only a responsibility on the part of politicians, there is a responsibility on the part of Nigerians to be able to interrogate. Somebody's offering you something that you're going to have to live with for the next 4 years. So if you take 4 months in deeply interrogating what you're going to accept or reject, I don't think it's too much time to waste.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll let you speak about your plans on our next segment.
Thank you very much.
We'll be going on a quick breather here on Politico Politica. Do stay with us. Welcome back to Politico Politica with me, your host, Isabella Akinseye. Now it's time for our Project Nigeria segment. So Dr. Fagbenro-Byron, how would you rate Nigeria socio-economically as at now, 2018?
Well, all the ratings are out there in the public space. You have them in the Global Integrity Index, you have them in the Human Development Index. Nigeria is pretty challenged, particularly in the area of security, in the area of education. You have 13.5 million children out of school. You have a security situation getting worse. Our infrastructure situation, particularly power, is deplorable. It's sliding down. And it's not as if we don't have the capacity or ability to do that, but I'll say it's pretty dire and really needs attention.
So if you had to choose one, you mentioned education, security. If you had to choose one, what would you say is the biggest problem Nigeria is facing, and what's your solution?
The biggest problem Nigeria is facing is the security problem, and the solution lies in a series of things. We have a security architecture that does not work for us. We have a raft of security agencies that are not very coordinated. We have issues around each security agency in terms of its capacity to deliver, in terms of men on ground, boots on ground, in terms of how well they are motivated, how they are informed, and how well they are equipped to be able to address the security situation. But most importantly, we don't have an embracing, wholesome security plan that is predicated on a national interest that will drive national interest. Another thing that we have as an issue is the lack of coordination between the security agencies. Where there is no coordination between the security agencies, things are about to slip. And security is so fundamental because without security, you can't pursue most of the other things you need to pursue. We need to have a 24-hour economy to be able to reach the kind of peak. And when I mean a 24-hour economy, people should be able to do work at night. The streets have to be lit. Now, without security, you can never achieve a 24-hour economy. Without having a 24-hour economy, you cannot reach your potential as an economy. You cannot fulfill what you need to do in employment. So I'd say that is the first thing. Having said that, there is a fundamental problem with Nigeria, and that has to do with Nigeria's structure. And
I think you're going to my next question, which has to do with restructuring.
Absolutely.
So pro or against?
Absolutely, I'm for restructuring. I'm for restructuring, and I want to be very clear as to what I mean by restructuring. A decentralization of powers from the center. We should look at the balance between what is on the exclusive legislative list and what is on the concurrent list. Our constitution is too heavy on the exclusive legislative list. The saying goes that power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. There is absolute power in the federal government right now, and so what they have as their framework of operation and the burden they hold and the responsibility they gather onto themselves would rather aid corruption rather than fight it. Because what it does, it gives a few people so much power and so much leverage, so that, they're bound to have, impunity is about to set in. So I honestly believe in restructuring. Essentially, it's about a new constitution. There have been 3 constitutional conferences which need to be aggregated to produce a new constitution. You have the 2000 Constitutional Conference by Obasanjo. You had Jonathan's 2014 Constitutional Conference. Although it was not a conference, the APC, this current government, brought out a document on restructuring. And I believe that there are similarities between the 3. All parties and everyone in this country knows that on this current structure, we cannot operate effectively and efficiently. You don't run Nigeria like a village. You need to run Nigeria as if it's the European Union. We are a diversity and we are a mass. And it is only a constitution that speaks to our diversity, decentralizes power, puts resources in the hands of the states and the people and the communities that will salvage Nigeria. Right now, all our governors are beggars. They go every month cap in hand to Abuja to seek for funds and to seek for revenues. They don't have the capacity to even develop their own revenues in-house. The issue of security. The governor has little or no control over the police. The governor has little or no control over the security apparatus of the state. And so we have an issue.
So the economy, you already touched on that in your answer about governors going cap in hand to Abuja. What will you do differently with the economy?
Well, in the first place, I hinted in the first place, a restructured economy will serve everyone better. But on the economy, what I intend to do is that I will make sure that money is circulated within communities at a faster rate without going out of that community. And what do I mean by that? Nigeria is overbanked but underfinanced. Where people need access to finance to do their business, to do their legitimate business, that is an issue. So what you want to do is to make sure that in the rural areas, in the communities, you have enough microfinance banks. You want to make sure that people can exploit their own resources in a manner that pays them. You want to make sure that you reduce importation, right, and you increase export. You want to make sure that you reduce the reliance on either foreign technical partners or foreign procurements. You want to make sure that there is value for money for the contracts that government gives. Because when we say, take for example, no federal budget has been successfully implemented up to 50%. Part of the reasons is because a lot of the prices are overinflated in the budgets. And because they are overinflated, you don't have money to go around. The budget is not realistic. You have a corruption issue as well. We need to go after corruption. For the economy to work, you need to go after corruption. And probably you may not go, I have a different opinion about how to go after corruption, but I think it should be strategic. It should be, you should isolate certain sectors from corruption. Isolate the NNPC from corruption. Isolate education from corruption. Isolate health from corruption. There used to be what you call
your international experience. How would you bring it to bear in terms of Nigeria really taking its place as that giant of Africa and playing on a global space?
Thank you very much. 60% of the fate of Nigeria is designed and defined by its ability to negotiate, to engage with the international community and the global space. Your world trade, your foreign affairs policy, all those things. It comes into being, and that's what determines it. Why do we go into deals without having a concrete understanding of the interest of the other countries? What I bring to the table is that I fully understand what other countries have in terms of their interests and how I can protect my own country's interests against theirs. I'm also bringing some knowledge, some capacity, some skills, the right attitude to this space. When you've dealt on an international scale and you know how other countries have worked, what I've done in my business and where I've worked is to provide the kind of technical assistance that has helped Nigeria in its reforms, both at state level and at federal level. And most of these things have been designed, international best practices. Achieving the SDGs too is a fundamental thing, and your global breadth, your global understanding of the issues will definitely help you, whether it's security, whether it's economy.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fagbenro-Byron. We'll be switching things up on a lighter note on our quick fire segment coming up after this break. You don't want to miss that. Welcome back to Politico Politica with me, your host, Isabella Akinseye. It's now time for our quick fire segment, our light-hearted segment.
Yes.
Dr. Fagbenro-Byron, are you ready?
Yes, please.
Okay, number one, the first female governor will emerge in the next elections, true or false?
False.
Number two, the party that will dominate in 2019 is?
KOWA Party.
Number three, young people have what it takes to be leaders because?
Because they have fresh ideas and they are ready to take risks and are adventurous.
Number four, the funniest thing I've read about myself online.
When somebody said he believed that I was under 40 years old.
Oh, so you're young.
Well, that's a compliment, but I'm not under 40 years old. I'm going to be 60 next year. But I thanked the person, but I really laughed.
Number five, the candidate I am most afraid of.
None.
Number six, Nigerians will vote with their stomach or their brains.
Well, some of them will vote for their stomach, some of them will vote for their brains.
Number seven, if not you, who?
The best person. I'll just say the best person, no name.
No name.
No.
Okay. We'll be wrapping up this episode of Politico Politica shortly, but first of all, let's take a look at what's happening on the political landscape. Enjoy. Welcome back to Politico Politica with me, your host, Isabella Akinseye. Now it's time for our final word segment. So, Dr. Fagbenro-Byron, on our final word segment, we want you to imagine that you had one last breath and you needed to deliver your final words. Or maybe you were strapped to an oxygen tank, because some of these politicians, they have a lot to say in that final breath. So what would you say to the millions of Nigerians and indeed the world watching? Please face your camera and say that.
To all Nigerians, together we can make a difference. Nigeria has to be able to manage its diversity, and we have to be able to manage our mass. Nigeria needs to define its national interests. And the way I define Nigeria's national interest is to protect and preserve Nigerian lands, Nigerian lives, and Nigerian livelihoods, to protect Nigerians wherever they may be, and to protect our friends that live within us. I believe that Nigerians should actually settle for the best. Invest in people, believe in God. Don't gamble on who's going to be president or not. Invest in good people and good candidates. That's what I'd say.
Thank you, Dr. Fagbenro-Byron.
Thank you very much.
For being a part of Politico Politica.
Absolutely great pleasure, Isabella.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just like our guest said, together we must all play a part. And that's why we say on Politico Politica that politics is indeed for everyone. I'm Isabella Akinseye, reminding you to play a part and stay woke.